All righty, good morning. Welcome to the Coffee Room with John. That was a quick turnaround today, right? I finished the paycheck like 2 minutes ago. We had a couple good shooters there. We had a 25 roller and like a 10 or something at the end there, and we did all right, but it takes a while to get through it. So I'm a little bit out of breath maybe from all that. So anyway, good morning and welcome. A lot of things to go through today. I love the Mondays after Crapsee checks. I get to kind of talk about it a little bit. About what happened on the show a little bit. I don't really talk during that show at all, so I take notes and I get to say, hey, here's what I thought. That'll be later on in this episode. But yeah, ahead of that, a couple of things that I really want to kind of talk to you about, which are these. One, and this kind of came up today. I'm not sure that I would say it came up today, but the Crapsee thing, right? Craig brought Crapsee up last night in Crapsee chat, and the number one kind of beef that all of us creators have with Crapsee, there's two really. One is going to be its ability to handle a big load, right? If you have 300 or 400 people on tables can handle it. But the big thing is, and you saw what I did today, right? I made a mistake. I made two mistakes today. I think I forgot a 5 at some point, and then I forgot to put a 7 in there, right? And there's no way to go back, right? There's no way, and undo is hard, and I want to make sure that people understand this, because again, I'm a programmer too, so I understand how hard this stuff is. But you got to picture, let's say you got Crapsee, and you have, let's say we'll pick one person has $1,000 in the rack, they got 640 across, and I throw a 7, but I don't put it in, right? Then I'm coming out, and the point is 9. Right? I type in the 9, so people on Crapsee never saw the 7 in Crapsee. They get paid on that 9 with their cross bet, and I go, oh no, I got to undo that, right? I hit the undo button. What it's got to do is unwind everybody's pays, right? It's got to not pay everybody for every roll that I unwind. So it's got to keep a history of all your payments, all your bets, and go back. On this roll, the bets were this, shouldn't have been. Give the money back, reset the bankroll. On the previous roll, same thing. It's got to undo that stack a number of times. Then when I put the numbers in, it can kind of pick up. There's a lot for the application to manage. I don't know that it's managing all those old rolls of history and your bet levels. So there's a lot to do to make it do the undo. It's not easy work. I can guarantee you it's not easy work. It's why it's taken so long. But that would make our lives a million times easier, because when I make a mistake, and it's easy to make a mistake. I mean, I know you guys love to give me grief, when I make mistakes. I'm sure you've given everybody else grief when they make mistakes. It's very easy to make a mistake because you're out there, you're throwing the dice, you're talking through your bets, you're doing the thing, come back over to the screen and you type it. And for me, I've got a touchscreen Chromebook, right? So I go bing, bing. Sometimes my finger is on the line between two numbers, right? And I'll hit them both and it picks the wrong one and it's a bad entry. Sometimes I just get to talking and I forget. Or I look at chat and I talk about the chat and then I forget if I type the number in or not, right? So it's easy to get out of rhythm. We need an undo button. We got to figure out how to make that happen. The question I've got for you, and put this in chat, please, about Crapsee, because it kind of came up today. Jen was giving me some grief this morning because I was going too slow. And the very beginning of the show, I talk a lot, right? Here's the bets I'm going to make. Here's the plays I'm going to do. Here's all the things I plan. The first couple, 2, 3 rolls when I'm doing all the big payments, it's a lot of talking. And it takes 10 minutes to get 4 or 5 rolls in, which really sucks. After that, though, it's pretty quick for me. What I find is that people are playing along in Crapsee, of course, because they're, we joke about you all being degenerates, but you want to play. You want to play it like it's a game. For us hosts, sometimes we talk a little too much. Are we burning out on Crapsee? Are we getting fired up to play more? Like, I'm finding so much Crapsee play online right now. Are you guys just like, give me more, give me more, give me all the Crapsee you can give me? And if that's the case, right, then we look at the shows that we're doing and we say, well, a show like the Paycheck should be a talker show. I'm teaching what I'm doing my thing, I'm working through it. I'm thinking sometimes about how to play while we're going. I'm not rolling dice like Brian from Why a Crap Shooter does, or like Craig from OBC does. I'm not rolling dice to get rolls in and let you guys play along. I'm doing that show for me, right? And to teach a little bit. It's not a play along style show. Crapsee on that show is a nice to have, right? Whereas other shows are more designed to like get you involved. So anyway, think through it, and just let me know on Crapsee, what are you looking for on Crapsee? Like, there's a good mix, I think, of like play along as I go, 10 shooters at a table, and there's another segment of it where you're going to play with the guy shooting, and he's going to talk through what he's doing. So think about that. We're going to start comparisons this week. So I'm going to do, like this morning, I rolled out the Dallas drawdown from 5,000. I rolled out the skill switch from 5,000. So the drawdown came back, the skill switch went up and then down, right? Got to see the same level of bets going in two different directions and how both guys came out, right? One guy came out twice ahead in profit because his redo was bigger, and it's about goals. So I'm going to run through this week how I compare strategies, and I did one of them last week. We did just the drawdown, where you can see the drawdown's expected loss. I'm going to run the drawdown's expected loss again, and I'm going to run the skill switches expected loss, and I'll run the modified iron crosses expected loss, right? And you'll see that all these strategies in the end are about the same, right? The expected wins and losses end up being roughly the same. It's about the time it takes to get there and the experience you have when you're in it. So you'll see how that all works. I'll compare a bunch of stuff this week. Even I'll compare placing the 6 and buying the 4, and that's the only 2 bets that you do. Which player do you think comes out ahead, right? So you get to see how the casinos view all that stuff. But today we'll do a little daily paycheck review here, and I'll come on the Craps chat comeback. We'll talk about my comebacks, what was happening there. Anyway, here we go. Let's do this. I'm gonna go. Where am I at here? I need to get my other screen back up. Sorry about that. I'm not seeing what I want to see. Daily paycheck. I didn't put this in today actually, so we should see where we are for August. This is not up to date, so let me go. I'm actually going to change my view here, and we're going to go here. And hey, there's the CGTV website. By the way, this website, you probably don't even know this if you're not paying attention, but we have a full schedule, right? So for me, for DGen, for Jeff, Ken, AZ, Alfredo, Joe, everybody's shows that they schedule are going to be on here. You can always see, like, here's Craig's the 8 table. You ever want to know what's happening? As long as guys are scheduling their lives, this will always keep the schedule for you. Anyway, let's go to the session logger, and let's go to the daily paycheck here. And for the month of August, we are now 7-1 for August. I know it's kind of small to see that, but we're 7-1 for August, and yeah, we're up $4,500 for the month, which is good. 26 days in, it's not ideal, right? We had a couple of big losses. Look at the losses, right? The big ass loss right there, right? That loss is a little bit more contained. We're in better shape probably, right? I went a little bit off the rails that day. And I didn't play every day, right? We're 28 days in, I've only played not 8 days, right? So it was kind of a light month. We took some days off, some Fridays. I slept in a few times, so it's not a full month of play, but you get a sense of it, right? And we can look at, like, even last month, also a 12-day month, but we made $5,000. We're doing okay, right? The average seems to be about that. We had a good month of June. But yeah, we're doing all right in the month of August. And you can, again, look at some of these strategies. And I think it's kind of fun to look at, like, pick anything out you want to see. The Dallas drawdown, for example, is 42-7. 85% win rate, which is way over what it should be. As you know, it should be about 66%. It's at 85. How long can I sustain? I don't know, but so far it's been our big horse, right? 23K, it's earned. You take all the strategies, we've only earned 57 or 47. It's earned half the money. So anyway, that's your daily paycheck review. We'll come back to the CDTV website here in a little bit. There's things I want to show you in there, but for right now, that's the August. The August roundup is good. 7-1, about almost 5K in profit. Crapsee the Cure 24. The only announcement I've got to make on this one is that trying to get a hold of Chuck for Crapsee. And the big update here is I'm trying to figure out, and we talked about this last night in the Craps Chat after show, which if you didn't come, it's good. Come to the after show. We could jump in Discord after the show's over and we talk for like an hour. And what came up yesterday was this idea of, during Crapsee the Cure, we're going to have a live table that we can film at. We know we can do basic filming like HCS does. We can't do the full thing I wanted to do, but we can do a small scale film. What I want to do is have somebody at that live table, which will be going from 10 to 7 both days, so 20 hours of play, have a Crapsee table live at the table. So while they're playing, typing in the Crapsee rolls at the live table at the casino, right? That way you can play along, you Crapsee folks can play along during Crapsee the Cure on the live table. So as rolls are happening from real shooters on a real table, you can bet along with us in Crapsee. That's going to be a big part of that of the event this year. We've never done it before. Live table with Crapsee the whole time. And I'm trying to figure out with Chuck a way to have the tip the dealer feature, tip the charity. So when you say, hey, here's whatever, $5 or $10, whatever you want to do during the Crapsee show, the Crapsee play, all that goes to charity. So we're trying to figure a way to tie that into the charity. But it'll be the first time, I think, ever that there have been live rolls logged against a live casino table that you can place bets on. Not real money bets, obviously, it's Crapsee bets, but you can play along live with a real table at a real casino for reals. I think we're going to break glass. It'll be the first time that's ever been done at Craps for the Cure. That's the plan. I got to work with Chuck. I got to get permission from the casino to do it, but I think we're going to be okay with that. That's not a huge ask. It's going to be super fun. That's the big update for that. As I talk to Chuck more on that. And something else I want to kind of get into here as well is starting to get more folks on this show to talk about Craps for the Cure. And what I mean by that, I want to get some vets to talk and tell their stories ahead of the event. So I want to start having us meet some folks here. So that'll happen soon enough too. So, all right, there's that. What's going on? Let's get out of there. I want to get here. No. Okay. Let's actually talk a little bit about Craps Chat last night. So one thing about Craps Chat from last night I think was great was story time. So Chris started us off last night with story time, and he was like, hey, tell me your best casino story, and everybody shared their best casino stories. And what I think this is an important thing, and I want all of you to remember this, what's on screen here. Ultimately, gaming ought to be fun, right? Yeah, we're looking to make money, right? But it should generate great story. When you go to the casino, unless you're going there like, to put in work, right, to build a bankroll, whatever, that can feel like work, right? And you can take some of the fun out of the game. I take the fun out of the game when I play sometimes. I freely admit that. But it should be fun. It should be fun. Most times at the table, almost every time you go, I think there's a story to be told, right? I've been to casinos a million times, right? Almost every time I go, I can come back the next day and tell you a story about what I saw at the table last night, right? A cool move the dealer made that I never saw before, or something a player said, or whatever. Somebody walks up and just throws 12 shots, ATS, right, kind of thing. There's always great stories. And I think Jen was talking about her story last night about the guy who was playing the don't pass and kept picking himself off, and she kept paying and putting him back up on the don't so he can keep shooting, and he threw a monster roll. Those stories are fantastic, right? Remember that, right? All this stuff, I take this game so seriously sometimes, right? And David even said it last night. John likes to grind it out. I do take it very seriously. But you can't forget to have fun, right? And remember the stories, like write them down, right? I actually have a book. Y'all don't know this. I got a book that I keep, not a book, it's a Word document that I keep, that I've been keeping since my kids were both babies. And it's called Funny Shit Zach Said and Funny Shit Allie Said. There's the two Word doc, and everything that they've said and the experience that we had, I put notes in this little document, right? It's like 20 pages long, right? And it's all the dumb crap that Zach asked me when he was a baby, or a baseball game that he played, or a volleyball game that Allie had, like the time she got beat in the face by a ball and got knocked out. Those stories are all in there, so I don't forget them, right? You can do it with Craps too, right? Just totally put your stories in there and save them somewhere and share them. So I'm going to put it right here in the chat. I don't know what's going on here. Do this. Do hashtag story. I can't even spell. STORIE, stories. And put your story in the chat. Like a great story you remember, right? I know what's going on there if you guys are fighting out there. I just saw John had I didn't have a cow. I was just saying, hey, I'm doing my show. I'm trying. I have to explain what's going on. I didn't have a cow. I like to give you grief, Jen. Anyway, share your stories in chat because I think they're great. Having good stories, I think, is what makes the game kind of tick. So anyway, there's that. The next thing that came up last night was the rise of the machines. Right, we talked about ETGs a lot, and it carried over from the last show. The last Craps Chat to David, because David's got this great inside view of how ETGs work. And I think a couple of things came out of it, right? One is, Jen's been telling me, it's funny, for a while there, we were all on the same page, like the ETGs, the electronic craps, bubble craps specifically, has got to be RNG, right? Because there's a regulation behind it, right? How can it be under regulation, but also be dice random, right? I don't understand how that's possible, especially for a tier 2 casino. So whatever. I've always thought, and I don't like the word rigged. I always thought the RNG created the number and the dice showed what happened, what the RNG said. Not that it's rigged. It's just that the RNG makes the thing and whatever. David, hey, last night he said he's talked to people who build the machines. He's seen the pistons that make the things jump. It's completely random. Fine. Mea culpa, whatever the word is, I'll eat my words. I've heard from David now. I've heard from another guy who works as a slot tech that the dice are doing it, right? Okay, fine. The dice are doing it. They're not rigged. They feel rigged, but they ain't rigged. Well, let's just call it the truth, right? They're not rigged. But the other part of this, right, is this. Energy and experience is a big deal. And I think David brought this up. It's my biggest beef with the ETGs is that the energy is so low at those tables. And I really I don't know who brought it up last night. Was it Jen or was it Slam or was it Skill? I forget now. I wish I should have wrote it down. Who brought it up? But the idea that the dealer at the roll to win or a stadium craps is just moving dice, typing numbers in, right? That person could be trained in stick calls. That person could be trained to do the thing. Get your bets in, Crapsees, high lows, they can do the thing that a regular stick person does and get the energy up. I think those games to me lack energy in such a big way. I hate it. That's my biggest beef with those things, besides the fact that they take jobs away. One dealer versus 4, I'm not in love with that, right? Now, you can do the economy at scale of those things and have a different conversation about that. I just don't like the look of it. You know what I'm saying? But they cost a lot of money. The cost per hour, the bets are lower, averages. That sucks about it. And of course, the comp value is still non-existent for whatever reason. I do want to interview somebody who works in that field and really ask why. Like, why are the comp values nothing? Even if the bets are low and whatever, if it's a machine, seems to me like you still should say, here's the average, the theoretical loss is the theoretical loss, and the hours played are the hours played. Even if it generates $2 an hour, it should generate what you're playing, right? But they generate almost nothing sometimes. We got to figure out why that is. That's baloney. But anyway, the ETGs, I think they're rising. They are taking some jobs away, but they're also providing a service, which is like, let me learn the game in a safe environment. I want to lean into the energy thing. I'd love to see real craps dealers dealing that game and bringing the energy level up so it's not quite the soul suck that it kind of is. So that's that. And I think this was brought up in the last craps chat. I want to talk about the economy of this, right? What does it cost to operate a table? And I found a website that sort of shows this. And what the website claims is that it costs between $3,000 and $5,000 a day to run a craps table. Okay. They don't break it down. I'm going to try and break it down here. What I think it probably is to run a craps table for a day. So if you have a crew of 4 dealers, they're making about $20 an hour, right? The boss, the box, right, is making about $30 an hour. So it's about $110 an hour. Actually, did I do that wrong? No, it's about $110 an hour, right? In salaries, $26.40. Okay. I'm guessing about $400 a day in operations. Maybe a little more than that, but you figure, crew, food, because they're feeding everybody. You got the electricity, you got the floor space, you got, benefits, whatever else. Maybe it's another $400 per day per table in operating costs. I'm guessing. Call it about $3,000. Again, the website says 5. They don't break down the number. I'm guessing about $3,000 to run a table for a day. Fixed costs. Okay. Here is actual numbers. Okay. If you run a $25 pass line bet, if 8 people do a $25 pass line bet, the casino sees that as a theoretical loss to you, the player, of about $425 a day of all the players. If we just walked up as a group and did $25 pass line bets, 8 of us, and we sat there for 24 hours, the casino is going to make about $425. That's how they calculate that. That's the average theoretical loss. And if you want to go here, by the way, back to CGTV's website, you can go to the tools page, the comp calculator, and I'll zoom in. You can type it in. You can say, hey, we're going to do a pass line bet. We're going to do $25. We're going to play for 24 hours, and you see that it comes out to about $423. That's what the expected loss, average daily theoretical loss of those players or that player right? For one player, it's 425, okay? So if one player is going to lose 425, actually my math here is a little wrong. I should fix this. Go back over here. There. Let's go here. So your pass line players are going to lose 425, right, per player over the course of the day. So times that by 8. If you're betting 96 across, okay, the average theoretical loss for a player betting 960 across or 96 across 24 hours a day, 750. Okay, the ATS, 8 players playing the ATS is going to lose 4,000 on the tall, 4,000 on the small, and about $6,700 or so on the all. That's the expected revenue in theoretical loss from players on a given day. Okay, David said last night, live tables generate more revenue than the ETGs, and here's the reason why. The expected loss for the players way outpaces the expected win for the players, and it way outpaces the expected cost for the table. Okay, so there's that. That's the truth of it. Tables make money. Tables make lots of money, and you can look at it here. You can look at. I can give you this. Let's copy. Can I copy this link or no? Copy the link. Give me a second to show you this link too. I think it's over here. Yeah, how much does it cost to own a casino? And you go down here, here is kind of there's operating costs, but here's kind of your cost to run a game. And again, Crapsee is saying costs $5,000 to $10,000 a day to run a game. That thing's a little high. But given the house edge, the revenues spans to 16. Actually, the house edge spans to 22 on the ATS, but the revenue is about $440 million a year for a table. That cost about 5 to 10K a day to run. So what is 10,000? Even that times 365 is 3 million, right? So $10,000 a day times 365 is 3.6 million a year to run a table. If I can slide this over to you, you can't see it. Anyway, so $3.5 million to run a table. They generate 440, right? So they're doing all right. They're doing literally just fine without us worrying about the revenue stream. So I don't buy for a second that the tables are too expensive to run. I've heard this argument, the tables are too costly to run. It's not worth it at a casino. It's totally worth it for the casino to run a live table. It's totally worth it. It's hard to be a dealer, hard to get your feet wet as a dealer. It's easy to be trained, but you got to move to a town where you have it, right? And I think we get into tipping last night. I think tipping is a big thing, right? David, big believer in tippers. A lot of people tip, and I'm going to give you my dogmatic view of this, right? Dealers love action, right? Dealing has a cost. There's a physical tax to standing and bending over all day long, right? There's a social tax where you got to be on all the time. You got to be flirty and fun and all the things all day long to earn those tips, right? At the end of the day, David alluded to it last night, it's a soul suck to watch people lose their money all day long, right? You got to just decompress. There's a cost to being a dealer, right? To tip their dealers, though, David has some advice for you, right? Prove you're a tipper. Tip right away. He goes out there with a bet right away. I would say actually make tips, right? I tip when I buy in. They get money out of my. Here's part of my buy-in. Like that's put it right in the hole, right? Show appreciation for good service. That's my at the end of the thing. I tip. Waitresses and waiters and whatever, they get tipped at the end of service too, right? Thanks for the great job. Here's a little bit of spiff. They earn that tip at the end, right? That's the bookended tips that I do. My number one concern has always been, I want money to go into the tote box. I don't want it to go to the house. And I know that dealers like the action. Chris alluded to it. David confirms it. Bet for the dealers, right? Here's the thing, and I've given this analogy before, and so I want you to think about this analogy. If you went to a restaurant, okay, and during the dinner, during the service, let's say you put $5 on the table, right? And your server walked by and she was bringing the round of drinks to you, right? Okay, great. Here's the round of drinks. There's $5 potential tip. The manager walks over, right, and flips a coin. And if it lands on heads, she gets that 5 plus 5 from the house. Right? If it lands on tails, the house takes your $5 and never goes to the server. right? Would you ever do that? Right, that's my analogy, right? You tip your waiter or waitress $5, and every so often the manager walks by and either matches your tip to the waitress or takes your tip for himself and gives it to the restaurant. You'd never make that tip, and the waiters and waitresses would never work there, right? Because there's potential to make more money, right? But there's also a lot of times the tips just go by the wayside. Maybe it's 2 out of 3 he rolls the coin, right? To make it even worse odds for him or her. That's terrible, right? And for you, I'm appreciating the service I'm getting. Here's $5 for the great service. I don't want that money going to the owner. That's what placing a bet for a dealer does to me. When I put a bet for the dealer out there, there's a less than 50-50 chance, and most times you're way under that bet's gonna pay. And if it doesn't pay, not only does the dealer not get it, it goes into the freaking house. You gave the casino money you intended to go to that person. That sucks to me, right? I would rather every time I tip, it goes into the box. What I have done more recently is take my caps, right? So 6 or 8, $12 6 or 8 pays $14, right? I go to 24 with it. I take the two whites, it goes to the rack, right? Or I take the 4 whites, it goes to the box, right? Take a piece of my winnings, and go with them, right? And just drop that to the tote box, right? That way, it's money that you want them to have, they drop it in. A dealer can't spend a bet. They can spend a tip, they cannot spend a bet. They might enjoy the bet, they might be degenerates, they might be great, whatever. I know David preaches that. I preach the opposite of that. I want the money in their hand. I want it in that box. I take every chance I get to put money into their tote box versus dropping bets out there that maybe goes to the casino who already has enough of my money. So that's me. That's me. But here's the thing. Prove you're a tipper. Tip early. Actually do tipping, right? Show your appreciation. Thank them. Thanks guys. Drop it in the box. Make sure they get it, right? And make sure you can do more into the box than outside the box, all right? And that's, again, my thing. Player training. I think the whole idea of having fun at the table, knowing how to tip, enjoying the experience comes from a couple of things. Know your game. If you know the game, pardon me, you don't got to think about it so much, right? David's CEG's Dealer Training Center is a great place to go to learn how to play. They have player training programs to teach you all the games, all the ins and outs, so you can go up there confident and at least not be scared to death and at least not throw money around without knowing where it's going. That's an important thing, right? You can find vetted coaches. There's lots of coaches out there that teach all the games. And we talk about craps. You got, Heavy and these guys that teach the game, Dice Coach. I'm talking about Blackjack Apprentice to teach you how to card count and how to manage that game, right? There's sports betting coaching systems. Find a person or a company who really does it for the right reasons. Vet them. Go learn, right? There's good YouTube channels out there. I'm not going to go through the list. There's good and bad YouTube channels. You know who I think are bad. You know who I think are good. Find good ones and invest, right? Read and buy vetted books, right? Things from Grafstein, great, right? John Patrick, these guys, the old Scarney, right? The books that have been vetted and lionized forever. That's where you want to get your information from. Not fly by night, how to win $1 billion in craps kind of thing, right? So there it is. That's my thoughts on last night's stuff. I think definitely learn the game, enjoy the game, generate stories with it, right? Yes, make your money. Yes, be disciplined. Yes, do all the things that I talk about going to work every day at the casino, but enjoy that and have a story to tell. That's a really important thing for me. And tip those dealers. Tip the dealers. They can make more money. More dealers come in, the more dealers we have, the more games there are, right? David said it best last night. The table games are the lifeblood of the casino, right? The slot machines make the noise and they generate all the revenue, but the lifeblood, the energy, the vibe of a casino is those table games. That's where it's at. The pit is where it's at. Let's make it all happen. All right, guys? So that's my comeback from last night. So I'm going to go through here and take a look at questions and all that kind of stuff. Again, if you put a story in there, I'm going to check for the word story. Probably nobody did, but I'll check. Story. Oh, there's a couple stories. Kevin Smith, I'll put this up here. Back when I worked at the poker room at the IP, I had to kick a guy out because he was pissing in empty cups. Oh my God, that's classic. Papa Chops. Highlight of having fun at Ellis Island $5 table for 5 hours, bought him for 3. In the end, walked away with nothing. The dealers won over $300 from my bet. So the dealers made money, you made nothing, but you had a good time, right? That's fantastic. I love it. Tom Marco, 15 sevens and 18 rolls on bubble craps. Is that a fun story or is that a scary story? 10 sixes hit as the point on one shooter at a real table. Unbelievable. I've seen that too. I've seen the point. I've seen a shooter make 4 or 5 points of the same number before. It's crazy when you see that. Bubble craps, I know it ain't rigged, but it gets in those pockets where the same numbers come out. I think, like David says, sometimes the dice get chewed up, but I think the piston also has a problem sometimes that pushes the dice up. To me, it always looked like sometimes they don't bounce very hard. And sometimes whatever was up on top sometimes repeats a lot, right? And it's interesting that you say that. On point, Mike says, I saw a guy walk up to the table, put 150 on the hard 8, next roll, hard 8, walked away. Wouldn't you love to do that? Just walk up and just, take $1,500 off the table and just go bye-bye. How cool would that be, right? Amazing. Let's check for some PC. Any questions, actually? Any questions for me? Looks like no questions. Let's see. John is the believer, but I used to believe it was RNGs. And again, I think that there was a good reason why I thought that, because I know that not because I think it's rigged. I used to think it was RNG based, again, because regulations. If the machine has to have a return to player of X% like a slot machine does, and if bubble craps are considered slot machines, then they fall into that regulation of you got to have whatever percentage return to player. How else can you do that other than an RNG being the basis of the result? I wonder how bubble craps works in a tier 2 casino where it's bingo behind the scenes. I don't know how that works, but David quashed it down. I'm not going to bring it up anymore. I'm done with that argument because obviously I was wrong, and I will own the fact that I was wrong. Duracell says, emotion and energy means you're playing for I'm not playing for feelings, but I do want to enjoy my time. And if I'm going to Vegas, like I'll give you an example. If I'm going to Vegas for Craps for the Cure, of course I want to win, right? I never don't want to win, but it's going to be like all of us at a table, maybe there's 40 people coming. I don't know. We're going to be at a table together. I'd like that to be a fun experience, right? I want that to be a good, energetic time. Yeah, I'm playing for the feelings in that move. I'm going to try and win. I'm not going to not try and win, but I would rather have a good time with it than be, like this soul crush at some electronic game, right? Where that's the thing, right? I think there's a good mix of that. I think we can strike the mix somewhere. Let's look at PCs. Anything else here? On point, I'm not hungry for Crapsee, but it's nice when I want to play live. There are a lot of options now, too. A lot of guys going live. Slam says, it's my show. Like I said, a ton of Crapsee opportunities out there. If my pace is too slow, exactly, right? It's vote with your feet. You don't like what I'm doing, you can go somewhere else and play faster, right? I'm doing that. Like I said, that show is for me to kind of think through it. Like the first part of that show is me thinking through what I'm going to do. You got to put up with that until I get into the rhythm of the show. It's okay, right? I don't take it personal. Jen and I are good friends. I like to snipe back because it's fun, right? So hopefully she knows that I'm just giving her grief. Oh, here she is. Yes, I agree. It's your show. Do what I want. If you want honest feedback, the pace is slow, for sure. People say they want honest feedback. I didn't bite your head off. I just said, hey, I have to get it off my chest in the beginning. So long as you were in agreement, first part of my show is going to be slow, and then I pick the pace up. We're good. We're good. I did not mean to. If you took it like I bit your head off, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I think the waitress wants the cash. What do you think? Does she want the cash or the lotto ticket? I think she wants the cash. Because, again, you're talking about folks that are making minimum wage, maybe less. I know waitresses, I think, in most of the country make less than minimum. In Seattle, they don't, but you can't spend a lottery ticket. You can't spend it. You can't buy your kids diapers with that. You can't put food on the table with a lottery ticket. That's just me. And that's just me being an old softy, right? Old softy. Yes, I don't see what Tom said here, but I disagree with PC John. Under player control, there was kind of the tip amplified. True, it can be amplified. But when it loses, they get nothing out of it. I just don't like them getting nothing. I just don't like it. it's just me being a softie, right? And again, you can take it for what you will. That's just my personal opinion jumping into the thing, right? So that's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to make sure that stuff goes into their box. If there's a mix of me doing that and you guys doing bets, then maybe it is better. I don't know. That's me. Yeah, you're right. Every commercial is somebody winning on a table game, right? Always on the TV shows, for sure. We had so much fun. We had so much fun today. That was great. You're insane. Everybody wants to graduate. That's funny. You're right. I think you're right. People want that chance, but again, at the end of the day, can't spend it. And that's where that's why I'm like having the conversation with y'all. Like I'm gonna go to final thoughts because it's probably time. But I'm definitely of this mind. Like I want them to have the money, right? I want them to have the money. I'm so sensitive to people that are getting paid lower than they ought to for the work they're putting in, and for service workers getting tips that count for them, right? And the tips being taxed thing, especially with the tip culture that we're in now. We should have a whole talk about tipping someday, about tip culture and how to fix that. But as far as the dealers go, I just want it to go. I don't want it to go to the house. I don't want my tip for the dealer to go to the house. That's what bugs me, man. I got this philosophical problem with tipping you and you not getting it and your boss getting it. It rubs me so wrong that I can't. I know it's like the RNG thing. I can't get my head out of it. But for me personally, I just have the soft heart and I want them to get the money versus give them the action. What they want is action. What they need is money. I'm going to give them what I feel like is the best thing for me. So I don't know. You might think I'm insane, and that's okay. That's okay. I'm happy being called insane. All right, guys, I have to go. It's 8:45. I hope you had a good time on the show today. And I know, and I'll talk to Jen later. We snipe back and forth, and I didn't mean to bite anybody's head off on the show this morning. It was just like, hey, man, I'm doing my thing, and you all know my rhythm by now on that show. So don't take it personal. I don't mean it personally. I'm just brain dumping as it comes to me, right? I don't script any of this stuff. I put notes on my screen for this show, for that show. There's no notes. It's just off the cuff, right? Just off the cuff. So feedback is a gift. I do appreciate the feedback. If I'm going slow, I'm going slow. I will take the feedback for what it is, right? There are times where I will go slow and then speed it up to make sure that we're getting good rolls in. Today we got 40 rolls in, right? The first 4 were slow. The next 35 were on regular rhythm, but I've got to do my thing. If I don't do my thing, my brain won't let me operate. So that's the reason why. So anyway, love y'all. Have a great day. Brian, good to see you here, man. Love having you around. We need to talk at some point too. Been too long since you and I've gotten the phone. So y'all have a great rest of your Monday. And let's hope this is the start of a good week, y'all. God bless. See you tomorrow. Bye.